Hey everyone, and welcome back to our channel where we post daily videos on cutting edge technologies. In this video, we are going to be comparing the top 2 data cleaning tools that will allow you to clean your data efficiently and in a very fast manner. So we are going to be comparing both of these tools to see if they are able to remove any unwanted spaces and characters from your dataset, if they are able to format the text inside a specified format, if the tool is able to change the data type, and if it is able to remove the blank spaces or empty rows or cells from the dataset. So let's get started. So let's see how you can clean your data using OpenRefine. So firstly, you have to download and install OpenRefine on your local system. And once the file is downloaded, you have to simply click on the openrefine.exe file, and it is going to open the OpenRefine in a new browser window for you. For this video, we are going to be using the data from the US Overseas Loans and Grants, which shows the US economic and military assistance to various countries. For this video, we chose to only include assistance to Korea, which is the South Korea and the North Korea for the years between 2000 and 2018. There are some deliberately added misspellings and formatting issues for demonstrating purposes, but the values are the same. You can clearly notice that for the country column, there are various spellings and various notations of writing the North and South Korea. Also notice that in the column having the heading funding amount, the values of this column are not standardized. Some amounts are using the comma, some are using the dollar sign, while others are using spaces. Some starts with the dollar sign and some do not. So datasets like this can be an absolute nightmare to analyze. Now we are going to use OpenRefine to clean this data. So in order to start cleaning the data, you first need to upload your file into OpenRefine. For that, you have to click on Create Project, and then you will have this page that will ask you to choose the file that you want to upload. So click on the Choose Files button and browse to the location where your file is present. And once you have the file, simply click on the Open button. Once this is done, click on Next. And it is going to show you that how your data looks like. And make sure that if you are uploading a CSV file, then you have this option selected which says that columns are separated by commas. So once you see your data uploaded right here, you simply have to go ahead and click on Create Project button from here. And once you do that, you will see that your project will be created and the dataset will be loaded right here. Right now, you can see that you only have 10 rows available. You can always go ahead and change the values to be shown from these values that shows the number of rows. So right now, let's work with the 25 rows. So our first use case will be to convert the dollar amounts from text to numbers in the funding amount column. And how can I say that these are text and not numbers? This is because in OpenRefine, all the values represented in text are left aligned and in the black color, and all the values which are in the numeric form are right aligned and in green color. So apparently we can see that all of the values are left aligned and in black color. This means that it is considering the amounts to be in text. So we are going to go ahead and convert these dollar amounts into numeric values. You can see that we have a drop-down arrow beside each of the column that provides different values for formatting it. So in order to format the funding amount and transform its text from text to numbers, I'm going to click on this drop-down arrow, and then you have to go to the Edit Cells. Once you go to Edit Cells, you have to click on Common Transforms, and from here you will have different options. Out of these options, you have to click on To Number. And once you do that, you will get a message that says text transform on 8 cells in a column funding column. And you can see that these 4 values in the funding amount have been right aligned and been changed to green. This is because these values were in simple text form and were easily converted into numbers. Now you can see that all the other remaining values are still in the text format. This is because these dollar signs and commas actually confuse OpenRefine and prevent it to convert the text into numeric values. So now our next use case is to remove the unwanted characters from the values. And for that, once again, you have to click this drop-down menu and this time you have to select edit cells. Once you select edit cells, you will have different options. Out of those options, you have to click on transform because we need to manually enter the edit we wish to make. In the expressions window, you have to type the function value dot replace and then start the round brackets. Inside this brackets, you have to pass two values. First value is gonna be the character which you want to replace, and the second value is the character with which you want to replace it. So firstly, I want to replace the comma. So in the first parameter, I'm going to pass comma, and I want to be replaced it with this empty string which is a space. Okay, so I want it to replace all the values having comma to space. Now simply click on OK, and you will see that it has transformed 125 cells into columns. And once again, you will see that all the values are once again in black. But we'll handle that later. Now we have removed the commas from here, but we still have the dollar sign. So we are gonna repeat this step. Go to edit cells, click on transform, and this time in the expression we have to type value.replace, and we want to replace the dollar sign. So the first parameter is gonna be the dollar sign, and we want it to be replaced by an empty space. And simply click on OK. It has replaced 9 cells in the column funding amount. Now you can see that all the values of the funding amount do not have any dollar sign or any comma, but all of these values are again left aligned and in black color, which means that OpenRefine has once again considered them to be string values. This is because in the previous steps we replaced the text values with the other text values, so it made OpenRefine consider all of the values of this column to be numeric. So we are gonna again transform our text data into numeric values. By clicking on this drop down menu, you have to go to edit cells, and then you have to click on common transforms. From the common transforms, you have to click on to number, and once you do that, you will see that 124 cells in the columns have been changed. But still, there are some values which are left aligned and in black color. This is because of the spaces and an additional A at the end of these values. So we have to go ahead and manually edit this value. So you have to hover upon it, click on the edit button, and then manually remove the values and click on apply. Then I'm gonna once again click on edit button, remove this A from here and click on apply. And the same goes for this third cell. I'm gonna update this value, and once you do that, you also have the option to change the data type. So from here I'm gonna change the data type to number, click on apply, and it will be right aligned, and same goes for the other two cells. I'm gonna manually change their values. This can only be done for a small number of values, but if you have a large number of values, then obviously you cannot go to every cell and change the data type of every cell. You can have the option that says the edit cell, click on common transform and click on to number, and it is going to convert all the text values into numeric. Now you can see that all the values of the funding amounts column are right aligned and in green color. This means that we have removed all the unwanted symbols, extra spaces, extra commas, and we have made all the value in the numeric form. Now we are going to see another scenario, which is to cluster the similar spellings. If you see in the country column, we have different notations and different formats just to display North Korea and South Korea. And it is showing us data ambiguity, because if we run a query and we want to find all the records having North Korea, then because of different notations, the query will not return us the correct response. So we are going to cluster the similar spellings and we are going to change it into one common spelling. And for that, you have to click on the drop down menu beside the country column header, and you have to select the edit cell. After edit cells, you have to click on cluster and edit, which is the second last option, and once you click on it, a window like this will appear. From here, firstly you have to select the method. You have two options for the clustering method: key collision or the nearest neighbor. Key collision clustering is a much faster technique that is appropriate for large datasets, but it is less flexible. The nearest neighbor is a more computationally expensive approach and will be slow on large datasets, but it allows for greater fine-tuning and precision. But for this particular dataset, we are gonna leave it to the default value for the method, which is key collision, and for the keying function to be fingerprint. And once you do that, it is going to return you values in cluster column. The values in customer column actually contains the grouped spelling that OpenRefine considers the same. So you can see that right now we have a total of 5 different clusters, and there are these number of values in each cluster. And beside each cluster value, you have the option to merge. So if you consider that all of these fall in the same cluster, then you can simply click on this merge checkbox, and you have the option to provide it a new cell value. So for the cell value, I'm gonna provide it firstly South, then I'm gonna say Korea. And then for this one, once again, I'm gonna check the merge box and I'm gonna pass North Korea to be the new value. And I'm gonna do the same for all the remaining clusters. And once you are done with all the clusters, then you simply have to click on merge selected and recluster to see if there are any new values or not. So if there are no new values, simply click on the merge selected and click on the close button. Once you do that, you will see that now you have a consistent format and the same spelling for all the rows of the country column. So in this way, you can clean different values by changing their data type, removing the unwanted characters from it, and making a consistent spelling for all the columns by clustering the spellings. The only thing that is left is the year. You can see that all the values of the year are left aligned and in black. So I'm going to go ahead and convert it into a text value. Go to edit text, click on common transforms, and then click on two numbers, and you will see that all the values will now be right aligned and will be green. Alright, so the next use case is to remove any blank spaces or empty rows from the dataset. And for that, let's say if I click to show 100 records, and if I scroll down a little bit, you will see that for the year, there might be a few empty cells as well as some non-numeric values. So in order to correct it, we are gonna be using the facets. So what a facet does is it groups the values that are in the column and enables the user to filter through and edit the values across multiple cells simultaneously. So in order to remove the blank cells from the column year, I'm gonna click on this drop down menu right here, go to the facets, and since it contains a numeric value, so I'm gonna create a facet to group the numeric values together. And once you do that, on the left hand side, you will see a summary of the values present inside the year column. There are 123 numeric values, there is one non-numeric value, and there are 3 blank values. So now we are gonna go ahead and remove these blank rows and the non-numeric rows from the column year. So I'm gonna uncheck the box that says numeric, and these are all the values which have either an empty cell or a non-numeric value. So now in order to delete it, I'm gonna click on this drop down menu beside the all column. From here, I'm gonna click on edit rows, and from the edit rows, I'm gonna click on remove the matching rows. So once you do that, you will see that all those rows will be deleted. And now you will see that if I scroll down, there will be no empty cell or unwanted values or non-numeric values inside the column year. So in this way, you can easily delete unwanted values and the blank spaces from your dataset in order to clean. So in this way, by doing just a few clicks, we have successfully cleaned our data using OpenRefine. Now we will try cleaning the same dataset using the WinPure tool. So this is how the WinPure interface looks like. I have created a new project by clicking in this new project button. After that, you have 5 different options right here, which are data, clean, match, verify, and automation. And the first thing that you need to do is to add the data in order to perform data cleaning. So you have to click on this import button right here. Once you do that, it is going to show you multiple options that which type of file you want to select in order to perform data cleaning. Since I'm working with a CSV file, so I'm going to select it. Then browse to the location where your file is present and click on open. Then for the field delimiter, I selected a comma because it is a comma separated file, and this is how your data will look like once it is uploaded. So if you are satisfied with it, simply click on this OK button right here, and it is going to show you that these are the field type of all these columns. You can always go ahead and change them, but I am good with this, so I'm simply going to click on this import button. Once you do that, you will see that in the data tab, your data preview will be available. Here you have multiple options. The first one is to refresh the table. If there are multiple people working inside the same project in WinPure and the other team member may add some new data or some new table inside it, then by clicking the refresh table, you will get all the new data which the other person might have added. Then you have the option to rename the table, remove any column, insert column, copy column, rename column, and all these options which you can always go ahead and test out. Now, we want to perform data cleaning on this table. So for that, I'm going to click on this clean button right. After clicking on the clean tab, you will have an interface that looks something like this. Here is your data, and these are all the options that you can perform on this table. So in this data set, as I've already shown you, that the column funding about have different type of values for the column. Some contains the $sign, some have comma, some have spaces. So our first task is to remove all of these unwanted symbols. So for that, I'm gonna click on remove tab from here, and here are all the options for all the columns, and you have different fields which you want to remove. You can remove the trailing spaces, commas, dots, hyphens, apostrophes, leading spaces, and so on. So if you cannot find the option which you want to remove, like in my case, I want to remove the $sign first, which is not present here. So I'm going to go to other characters in the row where my funding amount column is present, and here in the other characters, I'm going to pass the $sign. Once you do that, within a second, your data will be uploaded and all the $signs will be removed. Okay. After that, we want to remove the blank spaces. So from here, we are going to click on this spaces, and it is going to remove the spaces as well. So our funding amount is now in the correct format. Now the next thing is to see the country. I've already discussed that for the country, there are different ways of writing the North Korea and South Korea. So we want to bring the country in the same notation. So from these tabs, I want to actually standardize the data. So I'm going to click on the standardize, and in the standardize, we have only the cases. So I'm going to move towards the word manager, and here you have the option to edit any of the columns you want. So I want to edit the fields of the country column. So I'm going to click on this edit button beside it, and you can see that it has counted different values for each, like North semicolon South has 49 count. In this way, it has 47 counts, and these are all the different values in which our country has been written. So now I'm gonna firstly select this value and click on this play button right here, and it will move this word right here. So I'm gonna replace it with South Korea. So all the words having the same format will be replaced by the word that I'm just providing to it. Okay, then we have the second option. So I'm gonna go with this one as well, and for that I'm gonna pass the replacement value to be North Korea. So all the occurrences of this word will be replaced by this word, and here we have 4 values for these. So I'm gonna go with it, and once again I'm gonna provide it the value to be North Korea, and then we have South Korea having multiple values, but before that I'm going to update this to North Korea. And in the exact same way, I have done the same for all of the most occurred values. Now once you have done this, simply click on the save button right here. So you can see that now most of the records of the country column are inside the same format. But if you scroll down a little bit, you will see that still there are some values which are not in the required format, like this value. Then scroll down a little bit, we have this value in the different format, and we have quite a few values that are not inside the provided format, and we cannot modify all of these values one by one manually. But if you remember that the OpenRefine was able to format all the cells of the country column at once, but here we have the option to only modify the value of a few cells, but after that, those cells which have a single occurrence of the format, then you have to go ahead and manually do all of this, which is very hectic and time consuming. Then, as I have shown you earlier, that there are certain blank spaces and certain non-numeric values inside the column year. So we have to remove all of these as well. But firstly, you can see that here we have the summary of our data, and for the year, it is showing the type to be string. So firstly, we have to change the year from the string to the numeric value. So let's find the option to do it. And you can also see that here we have 3 empty cells inside the year column, but there are no empty cells in the remaining 3 columns. And if I scroll it more, you can see that we have 1 dot in the country and 27 in the funding agency, which is fine. So we have to remove all of these inconsistencies from our dataset. Firstly, we want to change the value of the year column from string to numeric. So inside the clean data option, we do not have any value to change the data type of our column. Now let's go to the data tab and see if we have an option to change the column. So we have the refresh table, rename table, remove table, insert column, copy column, unhide, filter and delete the records, but we do not have the option to modify the data type of any column. But this value or this option was clearly available in the OpenRefine, that you can always go ahead and change the fields of a column either from the text to numeric or from the numeric to text. But this feature is not available in WinPure. So now we're gonna see if we can delete the empty rows of the year column without changing the data type of it. So in order to do so, firstly we have to find all the rows where the cell inside the column year is null. So I'm gonna go to this match tab right here. So once you click on the match tab, you will have something like this. From here, firstly you have to select the table on which you want to perform the matching. So I've selected the only table that I have. Then on the step 2, you have to select the columns to the match. So firstly, I want to perform the searching inside the year column in order to find all the empty values. So I'm gonna uncheck all of the remaining columns and I'll only check the column having the header year. Then I want to pass on this value to the step 3, where I'm gonna create the match definition. So you have two options: either you can double click this column or you can drag and drop it to pass to the step 3. So I've double clicked it, and now we have the rule 1 in which the column name is year. We are gonna be performing a simple fuzzy match, and then you have to define the fuzzy level. I'm gonna go with the default value, which is the 95%. Then you have two options. Let me scroll it so you can see better. Here we have two options. One is to include the empty values in the result set, and the other one is to include the null values. So I'm not gonna check both of these, because once I'll perform matching, it will display me all the values that contain non-empty, non-null values, and then from the next step we'll see all the values which were not included in the matching result, and those will be the values that have empty cells for the column year. So I'm gonna leave both of these values unchecked. Rule level is 95, the weight in rule is 100, and then I'm simply gonna go ahead and click on start matching. Once you do that, it will take you to the result section of the match part. Here we have these all the rows which matches our criteria defined inside the step 3. So this contains all the rows which contains non-null, non-empty values. So if I click on the tab that says all non-matches, so all non-matches contains 4 rows which are actually the rows that contains either null values or the empty values. So you can see that for all of these rows, for the first one the year is 2018, but there may be some value that it is in the non-matches tab. Then for the 3 remaining rows, there is no value for the year. This means that these 3 are the rows which are empty. So you can always go ahead and either change all of these values by clicking the update or override button, or if you want to delete these values, then you can simply click on this delete button right here. And then it will provide you 4 options. Either you want to delete all the matching records, delete the non-master records, delete all the selected records, and delete the not matching. So if I select delete all selected records, then I need to select the records which I want to delete. But if I go with the default selected option, which is delete all matching records, then all the records except these 4 will be deleted which matches our specified criteria. But we want to delete all the records which were in the non-matching list, so we have to select it manually. I'm going to click on this cancel button, and I will check the is selected checkbox beside all of these rows. Now I'm going to once again click on the delete button, and this time I'll select delete all selected rows. Hit on the delete button and you will see that all those 4 rows will be deleted. So now if I click on all the data, it will show me that there are a total of 118 records because the remaining 4 rows containing empty data has been deleted. Then once you have the updated data, you can always go ahead and export it to save the clean data into your file. So this shows that both the WinPure and the OpenRefine are able to clean your data efficiently. Both of them can remove the unwanted characters, blank spaces and commas from the numeric values. Both of them are able to format the text into specified format, but the OpenRefine was able to perform this better because it was able to update all the values at once by clustering them into different groups. But in case of WinPure, it made certain groups, but all the other values which have a single occurrence, they were not updated at once, but we have to update all of those values one by one manually. Moreover, both of the tools were able to remove the blank cells or the empty rows from the dataset. But this was much more easier in case of OpenRefine than the WinPure. The only difference between both of these is that OpenRefine is able to change the type of your columns either from the numeric to text, text to numeric, or from any other format. But the WinPure is not able to change the data type of the columns present inside the dataset. Thanks for watching.